Welcome to my class. I'm coming in after so many days, and of course, I'm sure you must be watching all my earlier videos where I have discussed national income accounting in detail. Now, what is national income? Again, I reiterate that national income is defined as a sum total of incomes of all the normal residents of a country during an accounting year. So, for knowing the national incomes of all the normal residents of a place, say of India, will be added up, though some of the residents may be residing abroad. And one more thing to note is that national income can be computed with the help of domestic factor income, and national income is arrived by adding the net factor income earned from abroad to domestic factor incomes. So that is what is national income is a value of the final goods and services produced in the domestic territory of a country plus the normal residents which who are abroad, their income too is added in one given financial year. So that is national income. And why do you think we must have national income? Look at your own household. You must have seen that your parents, they maintain a certain record in which whatever income they get, they decide as to what goes for the food, to put the food on the table, or what goes for the education of the children, what goes for recreation, what is kept for a rainy day, and all of that, and how much has to be borrowed if you have to make an asset, say a property, you trying to get some home or house made. So that has to be monitored, that has to be seen. And being social animals, you have to see where you stand in society. I mean, are you maintaining your position, or you're upping it up, are you going down, all of that. So in the same manner, why national income is income is important is like a disciplined way of finding out where do we stand. It's not as if we make progress, we don't know how much has happened, or when we go down, we don't bother about it. We have to make calculations to see where we are, comparable to other nations, our neighbors, or the world where we stand, and even for ourselves. Like, for example, if the national income of a country is more, that points out to the fact that there is how much of well-being is there in the economy. We'll come to that later on, that it's not necessarily a nation which has high national income is happy and all of that. But apart from that, national income aggregate is a clear indication to know where the country stands. And having said that, I have written something on the whiteboard here. Aggregates of national income, as you can see. See, before we go on, look at this: gross, net. Get used to these terms: gross, net, depreciation, market price, factor cost, net indirect tax, subsidies. Get them going on you should know these terms: national income, domestic income, or national product, domestic product. Get it round your tongue: national product and domestic product, and net factor income from abroad. So you will see that sometimes we also talk about national product. National product is in kind. I mean, as you see the product, but if you convert it into income, that is factor income, then it becomes national income. So before we go on to aggregates of national income, I want you to know this: gross, net, depreciation. Depreciation is the wear and tear of any asset. Whatever you buy will depreciate over a period of time. So that is considered in gross. When you're talking about gross, depreciation, the element of depreciation is added up there. So it is there, it is plus, the depreciation is there. In net, no, there is no depreciation. Okay, so if you want to go from depreciation to gross, then depreciation has to be added to gross. Depreciation has to be added in net to get gross. Net plus depreciation gets you gross. And if you have the gross numeral, from there you want to go to net, then gross, you have to take out depreciation, minus depreciation, and you get a net aggregate. Okay. Then the next is, you will hear, is market price and factor cost. You know what are the factors of production? Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. Now, wages, rent, interest, and profit. Those are the factor cost of production. Market price is when you take the product which you have produced with the help of the factors of production and you take it to the market, there'll be some indirect taxes which are slapped on it, or some subsidies are given. Now, all this is at national level. So, what we do is we will subtract the indirect tax and we'll add the economic subsidies. Okay, so that is in factor cost, there is no net indirect taxes. And indirect tax minus subsidies is known as net indirect tax. So from market price to factor cost, if you want to calculate, then you must minus net indirect tax, which means indirect tax minus subsidies. Okay. And if you want to go from factor cost to market price, then you will add up net indirect tax. So does factor cost has net indirect tax? No. Does market price has net indirect tax? Yes. Okay. Now we have something known as national product and domestic product. Now in the national product, we have what is known as net factor income from abroad. Now factor income from abroad is that what our nationals who are there abroad are sending us. That's net factor income from abroad. And certain net means what we give abroad and what we take from abroad. So what we get from abroad. That is the net factor income from abroad. So national product, yes, net factor income from abroad is added. But if you're talking just about the domestic product, it is only about the nationals who are staying in the domestic territory of our country, or whatever is generated in the domestic territory of a country, by nationals and non-nationals both. So that is the domestic product. And in the domestic product, net factor income from abroad is not added. Having gone through all of this, if you've understood this, then we are going to talk about the aggregates of national income. That is what we find: gross national product at market price, GNPMP. Gross, as you hear gross, you know what is in gross? You have depreciation, right? Okay, so you want to go from gross national product to net national product market price. So what will you deduct from here? Depreciation. From gross, you've come to net national product at market price. So we go one by one step, one step. Okay. So what you get is net national product at market price. Now you want to get factor cost. You want net national product at factor cost. So what will you do? You will minus net indirect tax, which means indirect taxes will be taken away, but economic subsidies are considered. So you subtract indirect tax. So what are the indirect tax now? All the GST that you know of, and you add economic subsidies. Once you do that, once you minus from net national product market price, you minus net indirect tax. Remember what I told you? You come to what? Factor cost. From market price, if you minus net indirect tax, you get factor cost. So you get net national product at factor cost. And the other name for it is national income. So net national product at factor cost is national income. In other words, it's known as national income. And from there, if you subtract net factor income from abroad, from there, if you subtract, if you take out from the national product, you'll take out net factor income from abroad. What do you get? Net domestic product at factor cost. So what do you get? NDPFC. So N is what? Net. DP is domestic product factor cost. So domestic product does not have net factor income from abroad. So in other words, this is known as domestic income. And remember, India being a mixed economy, we have both the government sector and the private sector side by side. So in the domestic product that is generated, the net domestic product at factor cost that is generated, there is some income which comes from the private sector, which accrues to the private sector, and some from the government sector. Both the income, you get this domestic product income is made up of income from domestic product accruing to the private sector and the income from domestic product accruing to the government sector. That becomes net domestic product at factor cost. I hope you've understood this. Take a notebook, make this chart, and write down definitions for each of these and see how easy it'll be. It'll be simple to understand. And of course, you go back to my old videos. I think they're like 2-year old or 3-year old, much before. Go through them also. And you're good to go. They're really simple. And only after you know this will you be able to do the numericals. It'll be really simple. And remember, please, homework is a must. It's not just listening to me. You have to read, you have to write it down. And that's how you perfect your art of learning.